Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is well. And I'm Nick Dattani, one of the clinical leads in Barnet. I'm giving you an update. This webinar is recorded. It's about 10 minutes long. And feel free to ask questions as we go along this morning as well. So do let me know if you've got any questions as I go along. So I'm just going to give you some updates on what's going on, particularly in Barnet at the moment. So the key thing I want to let you know about is the bank holiday. Obviously, GP practices are closed this bank holiday, and there are some pharmacies open in the area, particularly Fairview has announced they're open the whole day at Finchley Memorial, and then there are other branch as well. But most pharmacies won't be required to be open this bank holiday as they did the last few. And normal services for bank holiday will be in place, which means that patients will call the out of hours 111, or they can use the Federation EAS number as well. The next thing I wanted to update you on was the HOT Hub, the Advanced Assessment Centre that's we're referring into for our HOT patients. So there is discussion at NCR right now about sort of slowing that down because the usage hasn't been that high, and we'll keep you updated as likely changes coming in June. For now, you can continue referring HOT patients in as the normal route, and we'll keep you updated. And the key things that have changed this week for us in Barnet is we've got Consultant Connect, and we had about 150 GPs and pharmacists and other practice team yesterday's webinar training. And so I will be sending the link in Charlotte's bulletin this morning. So those who want to watch the webinar on the weekend, they can do so. It's really easy. The key things that you need to do is just go onto your phone and download the Consultant Connect app. If you've got an Apple phone, you can download it from the App Store. If you've got an Android phone, you can download it from the Google Store. All you need to do once you've downloaded the Consultant Connect app is put in your name, register your NHS email address, and select your practice. Now, a lot of questions yesterday that were answered on the webinar, the key questions were surrounding what do I do if I work in more than one practice? Select the practice that you most work in. And the other questions were surrounding how, if I submit a teledermatology picture, how quickly do I get a response? And the idea is during business hours, you get a response that same day. But the idea is that you should be able to get a response really within 4 hours, so it's pretty quick. So if you do watch the webinar, there's lots of question and answers on that. The next thing I wanted to update you on was the care home LCS. So what's really exciting is that all practices in Barnet have now signed up to this, and that obviously look after a care home. So all the care homes are being looked after, which is really fantastic. As you know, the LCS asked us to do a weekly virtual ward round, and there is a payment associated with that. What I wanted to let you know is at the moment in development, James Rissis is doing a template for us to use during those weekly ward rounds, which is really going to help us streamline the care that we give. What we found was that there are a couple of templates, particularly the British Society of Geriatricians have done one, which is a personalised care plan, but it is about probably take you about 45 minutes, and there's a lot of stuff that probably doesn't need to be necessarily recorded in a template that is already in the notes. It's quite repetitive for GPs. So this new template should be able to be done in about 20 minutes per patient. And then when you do your future ward rounds, obviously you won't have to keep filling in the same stuff. So I think it will really help us in the ward rounds in the coming weeks. And then also just to remind GPs that you can do a CMC on each patient, and in Barnet, Charlotte managed to agree and Sarah Shelley that we will be able to get £40 for each CMC that we complete, and £20 for those that we review in the year, for example, the ones that we did last year. And then also, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a PCN bonus of an additional £20 if we hit our target. So really that is some benefit for us to use. So not only is it fantastic for patients to have a CMC, they feel involved in their care, but it also supports us in primary care to actually get paid for the time. I know it's taking about, I did 4 yesterday in my weekly ward round. It took about 3.5 hours to do them properly. So I know it really does take a long time. The next thing I wanted to let you know about was learning disability checks. So You can do them virtually now. So previously we would have to bring patients into the practice, and we still should for good practice for those that have communication problems. But it has been finalised, and NHS England they released some communications yesterday that it is acceptable to get paid to do a learning disability check virtually if you can't bring that patient down. But obviously, if the learning disability check last year was done, you know, let's say, you know, November time, do wait until that time, because the learning disability check is not quite due. So it might be more appropriate to wait until it's actually due. The next thing I wanted to give you an update on was BAME risk assessment. So there's been lots of chat about this, and NHS England released some guidance about what kind of risk assessment questions that we should be doing as GPs. But I also wanted to let you know that 2 days ago, the BMA also released something which might be useful. What that one does, it's quite different. It kind of gives each member of staff points. I shared it with my practice yesterday, and do have a look on the website. It kind of talks to, it kind of says, you know, if they're age over 50, they get 1 point, over 60, they get 2 points. Then there's the male, they get 1 point, and there's ethnicity, and then medical history. The only thing I found difficult about the BMA one was that if you've got asthma, you automatically score 1. If you've got sort of COPD, you automatically score 2. Now, I've got asthma. Does that mean that I'm going to score 1? I'm not sure, because, you know, lots of people have well-controlled asthma, or it doesn't really affect them. So I think we've got to be conscious when we're using those kind of things, because it can overrate the assessment, and then we could end up with issues. So for now, I think we should stick with the NHS England one. I know that NCL are working on that and other models. So hopefully there'll be an update on that. The final thing I wanted to give you an update on was just really a reminder about phlebotomy and X-ray services. So I get asked this most days. Just to remind everyone that urgent phlebotomy has been done at Finchley Memorial, which is run by CLCH, and at Chase Farm. The Royal Free at Hampstead also does urgent phlebotomy, but as of Wednesday, they're now starting to accept routine blood monitoring and routine phlebotomy. Okay, so they've introduced that from earlier this week. So what the idea is that you don't have a backlog of, you know, routine blood monitoring, that you can now start requesting that. In the coming weeks and months, obviously Barnet and Edgware will start to sort of have blood tests available at some point, or whether we're going to be doing some other modules that will be discussed at NCL. And then just a reminder about X-rays. So Finchley Memorial offers a walk-in centre during the weekday, which has X-ray facilities for minor injuries. So if we had somebody that, you know, is triaged and who's fallen over, twisted their ankle, or ankle pain, we could send them there. But actually, if we've got urgent X-rays, we should be following the X-ray pathway, which is putting urgent on the form. So, for example, a chest X-ray, and then giving the form to the patient via AccuRx or email, or if they come to collect it in the practice. But then emailing it to the Royal Free, and in all the bulletins as the X-ray email address, and if you haven't got access to that, just go onto the microsite, the coronavirus microsite for NCL, or if you want me to give you the email address, let me know, I can give that to you. And it's the same for phlebotomy. You can email the blood test forms now as well, so that patients don't have to come in and collect them. However, you can't do this for Finchley, because Finchley, being run by CLCH, can't print blood test forms, so just to make you aware. And then the final thing I wanted to update you about was that the lower GI and upper GI 2-week wait forms have been reinstated. As some of you might have seen over the last few weeks, there were some temporary forms during COVID. The old forms were put back onto Bar Global yesterday, because we're presuming that GPs can now order blood tests and freely do fit tests on patients. So that part of the assessment should be now done if you're doing a 2-week wait, really, or could be done, really. I'm going to pause there because I've talked for about 9 minutes, and I'm going to ask if anyone's got any questions, because this is only a 10-minute kind of huddle every morning, so twice a week. So if anyone's got any questions, use the chat bar, or this is your opportunity to speak freely, or use the raise hand function. If anyone wants any particular questions answered on Tuesday, do let me know. Okay, So
it's really helpful, Nick. It's Charlotte. I think this has been really helpful. It's a good update, and I think if people have got certain questions, put them on the chat or message, and these will evolve with time. Hopefully, we'll get to see. But really grateful for your enthusiasm at 7:30 in the morning.
That's okay. Thanks, Charlotte. And this is going to be recorded as well and will be available to the rest of Barnet. So thanks very much, everyone. Have a good bank holiday weekend, and I'll see you all on Tuesday. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.